How to do nothing? Well, is sitting on the veranda, relaxing like this with a nice cup of coffee, is that doing nothing? Or simply meandering in the garden, enjoying nature, taking it easy, is that doing nothing? Just sitting on the beach, sunbathing, swimming, is that doing nothing? No. Those are all doing something. Even sitting on your sofa, having a cup of coffee. It is sitting on your sofa, having a cup of coffee. Now let's go back to my kuti, where I can show you how we simply do nothing. Nothing at all. So, heading back to my kuti, this is certainly not doing nothing, making this video, because I don't do any editing, nothing in the way of editing, so I'm just turning the camera off and on and jumping up in different locations, more for effect than anything else, but it demonstrates how we can be so busy achieving nothing, which is very different to doing nothing. Let's take a look at that. And before you start, make sure you're ready. Ready to do nothing, which may sound silly, but if you're puffed out and uncomfortable and hot, then you won't relax so easy. Firstly, we're going to ask ourselves a question. Why do we want to do nothing? What is the use in doing nothing? Nothing at all. I'm going to sit down and we'll talk about that. You see, we can so often find ourselves busy, very busy indeed, and not achieving a great deal. The beauty of doing nothing is, it is the most restorative, regenerative, re-energizing, revitalizing, replenishing, everything, refreshing thing you can do, maybe apart from sleep, but if you do nothing correctly, it is more so than sleep, better than sleep itself. Fills you with energy and enthusiasm to go on and do the things you do need to do. Now, the fan is on a little bit too blowy for me, so I'll show you how we sit, how we get ready to do nothing, because the first thing we must do is establish our environment. I've walked straight in from where I've just shown you. The fan was on but full speed. It's okay for now, but I think I might point it in a slightly different direction because my angsa, this, is blowing away. These kind of things you establish firstly, so that you can spend some time doing nothing. Now you notice I'm not using the word meditation right now, because to practice meditation effectively, the first thing we need to learn to do is do nothing and stop trying. So many questions about meditation are about the mind wandering, trying to stop the mind thinking. No, we don't try and stop the mind thinking, we stop and watch the mind thinking. It is in fact actually the thinking brain, the computer on board of this mechanical thing we occupy that is doing the thinking. Let it. Let it think, watch. If you put in the right conditions, the causes, these causes and conditions will effectively let that thinking slow by its own accord, like sand in water stirred up, will, if left be, settle to the bottom, and the water becomes clear, as will your mind become clear, to clearly see the space between thoughts. And then when the next thought arises, let it, and see how it passes away or leads on to the next thought. But this is getting into meditation. The first thing we need to do is learn how not to do anything. Then that is the basic foundations for being able to establish mindfulness in front of you, ahead of you, around you when you sit to meditate. This is the first step. Establish mindfulness in front of you, meaning make mindfulness foremost. Awareness, understanding, knowing how the thinking mind is working, how the physical body is feeling. But step by step, slowly. This cannot be achieved all at once. So I'll move the fan. I'm getting up. Don't think the wire will necessarily reach. Oh, we could be okay. Excuse me if there's a bit of a noise. That's just blowing a slightly different direction. Okay, so you see people meditating in the usual position on the floor, cross-legged, yes? Now, I don't know whether you can see me properly, but how I'm sitting at the moment is on my haunches. This is how us monks have to sit when we're chanting. It's particularly uncomfortable and it's taken me a considerable amount of time, well, a month and a half back here in Thailand to get used to it again, because in other places I can get away with sitting like this, so much more comfortable. Sitting like this is actually agony after the first few verses, but you get used to it. Anyway, that is aside. This is for demonstration purposes only. One needs to try and sit in this usual posture when wanting to meditate, but it's also useful when you want to sit and do nothing. If you lay about on your sofa or sit in your favourite comfy chair, you will be doing that, laying about on your sofa or sitting in your usual comfy chair. Now, the way I emphasize it like you'll be doing that is because you won't stay still for very long. Have you noticed, even when you're watching a movie, something like this, you'll be moving one limb, another limb, cross the legs one way, cross them the other way, scratch this, scratch that. Because your first position, your starting point, isn't right. You'll be leaning this way a little. That's fine for a few minutes, but you'll sooner or later have to compensate and lean this way a little. Until, not long afterwards, you're leaning this way again, and this way, and that way, doing a little dance in slow motion. No, doing nothing is doing nothing. The first thing we need to concentrate is on the body. This is all meditation, because establishing mindfulness of the body is how we learn to train the mind to focus on one object of meditation, for instance the breath. Until we can do that, we aren't able to develop any form of focus or awareness or single-pointedness to lead us into even the first stages of samadhi. Samadhi being that single-pointed, focused attention. I'm purposely trying to avoid the word concentration, which implies, as you see even me avoiding saying that, I'm concentrating, my eyes tense, my forehead, it all tenses. This is concentration. Doing a hard task. No, relaxation, letting go, letting be. This is meditation, and doing nothing is where we start. So, you know, it's not comfortable, I agree. Like I was showing you sitting on my haunches when I arrived here, I could not get very much past the first couple of verses. I got as far as Namo Tassa Bhagavato, and then I was in such agony I'd have to let myself down. Now I can go through to the end in just a few weeks. Not the entire chanting session, we only do it to a certain stage, but I think it's probably only 15 minutes or so. But it's, for someone who doesn't ordinarily sit like that, firstly it's painful. Then, eventually, it actually becomes the norm and becomes comfortable. And you realize and see the practical reasons behind it. This is the same with the meditation posture. Now I know people all have their ideas, oh well, it doesn't matter how you sit. Of course, if you cannot sit on the floor, you can sit on a chair. But that is important also, that you sit on the chair correctly. Just with your legs, knees right at whatever right angles is, like this. So your shins, calves straight down, feet flat on the floor, not touching, no limbs crossing, but your legs, feet parallel like this. And your bottom and thighs evenly on the seat, your back not leaning against the back of the chair, and just your hands like this in your lap. No strange this, that, none of this, just this. Simple. Right hand on top of left hand, maybe the thumbs just touching to give you some guide as to how your hands are settling in your lap. Like this. That's the same as on a chair as on the floor. On the floor the difference is your legs are, my knees are both touching the floor because I've been doing this for a long time. But like that other posture I was just showing you, sitting on haunches, when I first started doing this, I was in my 40s already. I'd never sat on the floor since school, and it was terribly painful and uncomfortable, but I had no choice. I was in a monastery in Thailand with a concrete floor, not even necessarily these mats, these whatever this is, material. And like this floor here is wooden, but it's still hard. And this is what I sleep on. This is my bed I'm on that right now. No mattress. But I've got used to it. And now it is the most comfortable position to sit and do nothing. So appreciably at first you can't do that, but you will eventually. But there's steps towards this goal. It doesn't have to be painful, and it doesn't have to be dangerous. Always be careful, and if something's uncomfortable and causing you pain, that is for a reason, so move. But if it's just a scratch or an itch or a little nagging ache, then try and just be aware of that. But the first thing about doing nothing is sitting and establishing a balance point. The heaviest part of our body is on our head. Is our head even. It's on our shoulders, on our neck, like this. Now let that just center above your spine. Your spine is there for a reason. It supports your head and everything else hangs off of it. And if it's leaning this way or that way, again, it's going to eventually have to lean that way or that way to compensate, and you're forever moving. if you get it established in a balanced state, it can remain for a long time, enabling you to not move here and there, thereby doing something, enabling you to do nothing. So I'm sitting with my back straight, and the way to determine this, if you're not sure, is if your ears are in line with your shoulders, which are in line with your hips, then that's more or less your back in a straight line. If your chin then tucks in slightly, so that your face is kind of flat, I suppose, then rather than like that, your head is then balanced on top of your neck. It doesn't feel very comfortable at first, but just sit like that and do nothing. My legs are my right, what is this bottom part of your leg, shin, calf, is in front of my left shin calf. And my knees are on the floor. But at first your knees will be up here somewhere. It takes a while for them to settle down like that. But not long, and I was in my 40s, so anything younger than that, you can do it, no doubt about it, unless you have some bone disorders. And then just be careful and take medical doctor's advice on that. I just struggled and eventually was able to sit. Your cartilages loosen a little, and you're not actually asking your body to do anything that extreme. It is the normal posture for many Asian people. But the reason it is popularly adopted for meditation is because it is really the only posture that allows you to sit for a long period of time without having to move anything. It doesn't restrict blood flow anywhere, and it keeps all the weight of your body in proportion with its supportive structure in tune with gravity rather than fighting against gravity. So when we're straight like this, if you're able to do so, this would be called the Burmese position. You then can put this right foot on top of your left thigh, like that. I wouldn't normally do it like that, but this is just so you can see. The full lotus is slightly different. You would put your left foot there and your right foot there. Now this is a very, very balanced position because one is in a triangular, like a tripod. Your knees and your bottom are 3 points. You can't fall over. You're very well supported. But it takes a while and practice to be able to sit like this. So when one has established the body in a position whereby it doesn't need to move, you need to then just observe. Find where there may be points that are uncomfortable. Your hands should be resting left hand in your lap with your right hand on top. Now, starting at the top of your head or at the bottom, at the tip of your toes, just slowly work through your body. If there are already, before that, uncomfortable areas, go straight to that uncomfortable area. Focus on it. Establish what the problem is. Adjust your posture if necessary, or just wait and see it go. Sometimes let it be, it will just disappear and the discomfort will pop up elsewhere. This is usually the case. But having established your body in a comfortable position, or at least a position whereby you do not need to move, because after all we're not looking to go to sleep now. That is a different method of restoration. This method of restoration, let's call it, is about just doing nothing whilst fully aware and awake. So we have, of course, turned off our phone. I can't do that, and you can't do that at the moment if you're watching it on a phone. But ordinarily, to do nothing, the first thing to do is turn that device off. If it's on silent, put it in another room so you can't accidentally look at it. They're a tremendous draw of our attention, a tremendous disturbance and hindrance to our effectiveness in meditation and our ability to concentrate. They're designed to make us move quickly from one thing to another, rapidly, bing, 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 bing. And this is not the approach to doing nothing. So we sit and we establish the discomfort in our body, understand it, be kind to it, take care of it if necessary. And when we know we're sitting in a comfortable posture, we can look towards letting the body just slow down. And the first way to understand this is to bring your awareness to breathing. Now remember, we're not meditating yet. This is not a guided meditation. It is a way of learning to do nothing in order that you can meditate without guidance. Because all guided meditation is, if I was talking to you through meditation, would be reminding you all of the time to do nothing. But then you are doing something. You're listening to those prompts. You're waiting for the next one. Or you are being disturbed by one that comes along, a reminder, and you didn't need reminding. So this is a quick course in doing it yourself. Nothing by yourself. So bring your awareness to the breath. And at first, I've just been outside in the garden, on the veranda, to the beach, up some stairs, steps, and now I'm here. But already just sitting here in this short time, my breath has gone back to normal. When I first sat down, I was a little hot. I could feel heat on my skin, dampness from sweating. Notice these things about your body. The skin, the heat, or the coolness, or the dryness. You may be in a cold environment. You may need a shawl or an extra layer of clothing when you want to sit, because of course your body is going to naturally cool down. After a while it will cool down a lot. So it is useful. You often see people in meditation with a blanket or something around them. The danger in that is they can get a little bit fiddly. So perhaps just have an extra layer of clothing from the beginning, so you don't have to adjust anything, and then you will be a little bit warm to begin with, but at least when you settle, your body settles, you'll be okay. No dangers of that here. It's quite hot, even though I'm now quite cool with half the fan on me. So we sit and we get our body all in tune. And if you look at your breath now, noticing your skin, first you just take a breath in and breath out, a little bit extra deep. And notice how refreshing that is. When you breathe in and when you breathe out, it's not so noticeable. Always breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. From your diaphragm preferably, not your chest. Your chest requires expanding and contracting lots of muscles and moving lots of bones. It's designed for it in times when we need to get a whole lot of air and oxygen into our system rapidly in panic. But we're not in panic, we're calming the mind. So we let our diaphragm just do its own natural, automatic work of up and down, tummy rising, tummy falling, bringing in enough air to inhale and exhale, just the right amount for the body's needs. It adjusts itself. No need to force anything, just observe. If watching the breath makes you feel you need to control it, then just bring your attention to something else. Maybe think about something you can't really observe very easily, like the back of your hands, the tops of your feet, or the back of your ears. Do you ever feel those? No, but they're there, aren't they? They're part of your body. And then notice your breath has gone back to an ordinary rate of breathing. Your body should be relaxed now and able to sit and do nothing. You've brought no refreshments with you, no snacks, no entertainment, no drinks, none of those aluminium jingly jangle chain water bottles that are so infuriating that people insist on bringing into meditation centres, clink, 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 onto the stone floor. Not necessary. You're not going to dehydrate and die in 30-40 minutes. When you know how to do nothing, remembering how restorative it is and how beneficial it is both to the mind and the body, it doesn't need to be for very long if you do nothing properly. At first you need to either meditate or do nothing a little bit longer to find a point in that time where you are actually doing nothing and not just leading in and leading out. But when you really understand what doing nothing is, you can just do it on the spur of the moment. So, I haven't made a video for a couple of days, or I don't know how long, probably a week, I'm not sure. Apart from those little gecko shorts, which are not at all, don't take any time. I couldn't think of what to do, what to say in my next video. And one tip, I could say, piece of advice, or something that's I found very useful in life. If ever you're not sure what to do, you can't decide one way or the other, then don't. Don't decide and just do nothing. Then the decision will be made for you, or you will have to do one thing or the other. This takes out a whole layer of effort and stress from your life. All of the things that we don't want to do in our lives are more problematical leading up to them through thinking about, oh, I've got this speech to make, I'm so nervous about it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, how am I, what if I fail, what if it goes wrong, what if everybody laughs at me? For months on end before an event, a wedding or a business conference, something like this. And then when it's actually the day, you get on, do it, and it's over, and you think, what was I worried about? Or it goes horribly wrong, and you were right to be worried. But did the worrying about it help? No, not at all. It's going to happen one way or the other, either way. So we don't need to prevaricate and cause ourselves all this extra pain. And this is the same with decision making. Frankly, if you can't decide, if the answer isn't staring you in the face, then that's because there isn't an answer yet. It will, in time, become apparent. Let it be. This is the art, if you like, the practice of doing nothing. And it really does work. If in doubt, do nout. Nout in my country is a northern expression for nothing. And it's a way to remember. If you're not sure, then think no more. My little poems are coming out. This means you can relax and do nothing, and the answer will come along. If it's important. If it's not, it may just remain in limbo. Let it. So this is now, we've relaxed the body, brought us towards looking at the mind and all of that thinking activity that is going on there. In this process of doing nothing, we're looking at the actions, what we do, our karma, if you like, which just means our actions. So, if we can attune ourselves to performing only wholesome, beneficial actions through body, speech and mind in our lives, we are only generating wholesome, beneficial karma. And this is the practice of Buddhism in a nutshell. This is how we develop, through morality, sila, the ability to meditate, samadhi, and ultimately wisdom, panya. How? Well, just doing nothing. It's not hard, is it? But of course it is very hard for us to do nothing. Put a person in a room with 4 grey walls, a floor, and nothing else. Just enough light to see the 4 grey walls of the floor, but no sounds, no entertainment, nothing to look at, nothing to read, nothing to do. Very quickly they go quite crazy. So I'm told. But, you know, this is because we're used to distraction from how we really feel. Keeping ourselves busy. Busy doing nothing, or busy achieving nothing. This is why it's so important to learn to be able to do nothing. We're sitting comfortably, our bodies have calmed, physically slowed down. We can tell from our breath that our physiology is slowing and enabling, I'm just going to sit a bit more properly here, us to relax and think about what our mind is doing. At first it will be thinking about what you were doing before you sat down, and it'll be thinking about what you're going to be doing a little bit later. You need to have some cue to know roughly when you're going to finish doing nothing, but this is not meditation yet, so you shouldn't need to set an alarm. If there's a clock on the wall, that's fine, but don't keep looking at it. But just know for the next half hour, let's say, you're doing nothing. Whatever you were doing before you started meditation, or doing nothing, and whatever you're going to be doing afterwards, does not need to affect what you're doing at this moment. And this is where we use meditation. This is where we use a meditation object, like observing, watching the breath, simply breathing in and breathing out, to bring our minds to one thing, one neutral thing, something that is neither something you dislike or something you like. It's, to all intents, inconsequential, but not boring, because boring is a form of aversion. It may seem that it's boring, but that's because you're not looking at it from the right perspective. Breathing is in fact something of interest. You can understand when you're breathing in. I'm breathing in slowly or quickly, long or short. The air, the breath is cool when I breathe in. And when you breathe out, the same. But the air is now body temperature, less noticeable, warm. And this observation will eventually allow your mind to settle and to slow. And then this is where we start to enter the realms of the practice of meditation. and developing samadhi. But for this video, the purposes of this video, I wanted to highlight the purpose and reasons behind doing nothing. The purpose of doing nothing is, it is beneficial and restorative and does no harm. And we can use it as a way to stimulate ourselves, revitalize our systems, both mentally and physically, in order to then perform the tasks that we need to do more effectively. Allowing the confusion, the decision-making process to letting that be, to settle, dissipate, and either make the decision for you or remain in abeyance until a decision is necessary. But taking away the level of thinking, analysing, investigation away from you and allowing you just to act as necessarily when the time is right, when that occasion arises, rather than be worrying about it, thinking about it, planning it, making your mind busy, doing absolutely nothing. Because whilst your mind is thinking about it, it is not actually doing it, it is just thinking about it. So the only thing we need to do is know, thing. And you put those two words together, know and thing, and we have the word nothing. And nothing is a beautiful thing to do. It's not a beautiful thing of not doing, it is just doing no particular thing. Busy doing nothing, no particular place to go, was a song once, and it's a very beautiful lyric. Because what is wrong with that? It surely is more wholesome and beneficial to both body and speech and mind to refrain from all that hyperactivity or even activity at all if it isn't leading you in any positive direction, and simply sit back and let be, than to appear to be racing for busyness' sake. No, that is not the thing to do. Simply let go and know, and this is the way we establish ourselves mentally and physically to be in a position to then begin with meditation. Now that is for another discussion, another time, another talk. I hope this has been useful for you in terms of explaining why we'd want to do nothing. I don't know how long this video has been, but even in this time, which isn't long, my physical body is more relaxed, even though I'm doing something, I'm talking and I'm thinking, and even my mind is relaxing, because I'm only doing one thing. I'm only talking about this subject, and I know there's not a great deal to talk about and think about. And even that has made me feel better than before I sat down. Better than sitting drinking a cup of coffee, or walking around the garden, or lazing on the beach. I feel more restored, even though I've made this video. Now I couldn't decide what video to make, so I decided not to make a video at all. And then, a few days later, or today, this morning, what popped up in my head? I'll make a video about doing nothing, because that was the best thing to do. Because that few days of not making a video meant I had a little bit extra time to meditate, not think about making a video, I'll still keep making videos, it's no problem, it takes no time. But sometimes, whatever we do, we take a few days out, a few hours out, a few minutes out. And when you get really good at doing nothing, a few seconds out will help to restore your sense of well-being and revitalize, recharge your batteries, re-energize your view, and help with everything you're trying to achieve in life. And if you are trying to achieve in life the goal of nibbana, freedom from suffering in this lifetime, the first thing you need to do is learn to let go and know and be able to sit and practice meditation. So on that note, if you have the opportunity now, turn your phone off and simply do nothing for a little while. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Goodbye.